My name is Sarah Thompson. I'm 35 years old, a single mom, and on the night my sister tossed my daughter's handmade birthday gift into the barbecue, something inside me finally snapped. 1 second, my little girl was standing there on the patio, clutching the gift she'd worked on for weeks. The next second, my sister had it in her hands, holding it up like some cheap prop in one of her jokes. "What is this?" she laughed, wrinkling her nose. "Some kind of bargain bin craft project?" She didn't even wait for an answer. She popped the lid off the grill, let the heat flare up, and dropped the gift straight into the flames. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. The paper curled, the glue sizzled, and the ribbons my child had tied with such careful fingers blackened and shriveled. My daughter froze. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Just that stunned, broken look that only a child betrayed by their own family can have. Then the tears started, big, silent ones at first, rolling down her cheeks, and then a choked sob that cut straight through me. My parents laughed. One waved a hand at me like this was no big deal. "Come on, it's just a joke," they said. "She can make another one? Don't be so dramatic." I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even answer. I walked over, wrapped my arm around my daughter's shaking shoulders and whispered, "Go get your shoes." While everyone stood there, half confused, half amused, I picked up her backpack from the hallway, grabbed my keys, and headed for the front door. No big speeches, no threats, just a quiet, final decision. This was over. They didn't realize it yet, but that night would be the last time they hurt my child and expected me to smile through it. They kept calling after us as we walked to the car, asking where we were going, saying I was overreacting. I didn't look back. Hours later, in the dim light of my bedroom, with my daughter asleep beside me, I opened the family group chat and typed out one simple message, the kind that doesn't sound dramatic until you understand what it really means. Before I show you exactly what I sent to my family that night, and how that one message blew up decades of "keep the peace" in our house, tell me, what time is it for you right now and where are you watching from? I'm genuinely curious how far this story will travel. I stared at the blinking cursor for a long time before I hit send. My fingers hovered over the screen while my mind replayed every second at that grill. The hiss of the flames, the smirk on my sister's face, the way my daughter's eyes died a little the moment her gift turned to ash. Finally, I typed, "From now on, everything stops. Don't call me to fix anything. Don't expect me to host, plan, or smooth things over. And don't contact my daughter until you're ready to treat her with the respect she deserves. Handle it yourselves." I watched the little scene notifications pop up one by one. No replies. Not at first. Just silence, and the low hum of my daughter's breathing next to me. Her cheeks were still streaked with the tracks of dried tears. Her hands, the same hands that had glued, cut, painted, and stitched that gift together for 2 straight months, twitched in her sleep. To understand why that one act at the barbecue was the last straw, you have to know who we were before the fire. My daughter, her name is Emily, is 11 years old. She's the kind of kid who sees an empty shoebox and imagines a treasure chest. Give her a pile of scrap paper and some old photos and she'll turn it into a storybook. For 2 months, Emily sat at the kitchen table almost every night, tongue poking out in concentration, working on that gift. It wasn't just a present, it was a handmade memory box full of tiny drawings, printed photos she'd saved her allowance to get developed, and handwritten notes like, "Thank you for always making me laugh," and "I love when we talk about your travels." And the person she made it for? My sister. Her name is Jessica. She's 3 years older than me, the golden child who never stopped acting like the world owed her applause. Growing up, if something went wrong, the family blamed me for being too sensitive or too serious. If Jessica made a cutting remark, the adults would say, "That's just her sense of humor." If she ruined something of mine, it was, "Relax, Sarah, it's just a thing." When she burned one of my sketchbooks as a prank when we were teenagers, my parents told me I was overreacting even as I stared at the ashes on the driveway. I remember standing there, fists clenched, while they laughed it off. That smell of burned paper stuck in my brain. So when Emily came to me 2 months before the party and said, "Mom, I'm making a secret present. Don't tell Aunt Jessica," my heart squeezed. She wanted it to be perfect. She hid it under her bed every night, wrapped in an old towel so no one would see it too soon. She'd ask me, "Do you think she'll like it?" And I would smile and lie. "Of course she will. She'd be crazy not to." But something about the way she idolized my sister made me uneasy. Emily didn't know any of the history. She didn't know that as kids, Jessica would mock every drawing I made, every outfit I wore, every dream I said out loud. She didn't know that when I became a single mom at 24, Jessica joked to my face, "Well, at least you finally got attention for something." She didn't know that my parents always excused it with the same line, "That's just how she is." On the afternoon of the party, our old New England house, yes, the same one I grew up in and somehow ended up moving back to, was buzzing with noise. My parents brought their usual loud energy, acting like nothing could ever truly be wrong as long as the grill was hot and the cooler was full. Jessica swept in late, sunglasses on, phone in hand, already complaining about traffic and her exhausting week. Emily lit up when she saw her. That's what kills me. Emily lit up. She practically glowed under my sister's attention. All she wanted was approval. There's nothing more dangerous, I think now, than a kid who believes love has to be earned by being impressive enough. Looking back, I can see every red flag we stepped right past that day. The way my parents laughed a little too loudly at Jessica's snarky comments. The way Jessica's eyes skimmed past Emily's decorations, searching for something to mock. The way my daughter's shoulders tensed each time she brought the gift box closer to the patio, then changed her mind and carried it back inside, whispering, "Not yet. I want it to be the perfect moment." By the time that perfect moment arrived, the sun was dipping low, the grill was blazing, and everyone had a drink in their hand. I announced that Emily had a surprise, expecting claps, smiles, maybe even a cheesy family photo. Instead, I watched the same pattern replay like a bad rerun. My sister's smirk, my parents' indulgent amusement, the casual cruelty that they've dressed up as jokes for decades. Only this time, it wasn't my sketchbook in the fire. It was my child's heart. So when people ask, "Did you really cut off your whole family over one birthday party?" The answer is simple. This wasn't about one moment. It was about every moment that led up to it. It was about an entire childhood of being told my pain was a punchline. I just refused to let my daughter inherit that script. As I watched the read receipts stack up under my message that night, I knew there was no going back to the version of me who kept the peace at any cost. You can't unburn a gift. You can't unhear a child's first sob of betrayal. If you were in my position, if someone you loved burned your kid's gift in front of everyone, would you have left? Or would you have stayed and pretended it was no big deal? The first reply came from my mother early the next morning. "Sarah, honey, can we please talk about last night? You left everyone worried. It wasn't that serious." "Not that serious." My jaw clenched. I could still see Emily's face reflected in the car window last night, streaked with tears as she whispered, "Did I do something wrong?" She woke up puffy-eyed, clutching the little charm bracelet that had survived the night only because she'd been wearing it instead of putting it in the box. I typed slowly, forcing myself not to soften the truth this time. "It was serious. You watched my child's work get thrown into a fire and laughed. You watched her cry and you told me to lighten up. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a problem." This time, my dad chimed in. "You're blowing this out of proportion. Your sister was joking. The kid will forget about it in a week. Don't punish the whole family because of one bad moment. There it was again. Minimize, excuse, flip the blame. I would have expected nothing less. Then Jessica finally joined in. "Oh my God, are we really doing this?" she wrote. "It was an ugly little craft project. I thought it would be funny. I didn't realize you turned into such a helicopter mom. Emily needs to toughen up. Life isn't going to coddle her the way you do." I stared at her words and felt something inside me go cold and sharp. Part of me wanted to fire back with every story I'd buried, every time she'd humiliated me in front of friends, every joke that left me crying in my room while the rest of the house laughed. But dragging out ancient history in a group chat wasn't going to protect Emily. Boundaries would. So I answered simply, "Here's what's going to happen. You don't talk to my daughter until you understand what you did and can apologize to her directly, without excuses. You don't get to burn her work and then tell her she's too sensitive. And if you think humiliation is how kids toughen up, you're not safe to be around her. I mean that. Scene. Scene. Scene." No one answered for 5 minutes. 10, 15. Then my mom. "Sweetheart, we all love Emily. You know that. Let's have dinner this weekend and sort this out. You shouldn't cut us off over something that got out of hand." Got out of hand. Like the fire that licked up around the edges of the box. Like the laughter that rolled across the patio while Emily stood there shaking. I took a breath. The old me, the one trained to smooth things over, wanted to cave, to say, "Okay, let's talk." And then sit at their kitchen table accepting half apologies dressed up as, "You know I didn't mean it." But last night, as I tucked Emily into bed, she asked, "Are we still going to Grandma and Grandpa's house next weekend?" Her voice had been hopeful, scared, and resigned all at once. I'd said, "We'll see," because I didn't want to lie. This morning, I knew the answer. "No dinners, not yet," I typed. "You want access to my kid? You earn it. Start with acknowledging what happened instead of pretending I'm the problem for reacting." Jessica's response came fast this time. "You're insane. Seriously. You're turning everyone against me over a box of paper. You've always loved playing the victim. You're teaching Emily to be weak and dramatic. Good luck with that." Something clicked into place for me then. All those years of being told I was too sensitive weren't about me being weak. They were about them refusing to be accountable. Sensitivity isn't the problem. Cruelty is. I didn't argue with her. I just wrote, "You burned her gift and called it trash. My job is to protect my daughter, not your ego." Then I muted the chat. Later that day, when Emily came home from school, I sat her down at the kitchen table, the same table where she'd spent all those nights designing that gift. I told her the truth in a way an 11-year-old could handle. "We're going to take a break from seeing the family for a while," I said gently. "Not because of you. You did nothing wrong. You made something beautiful, and some adults didn't know how to act. Adults can be wrong too. And when they are, we don't have to keep putting ourselves in front of their fire." She bit her lip. "Does that mean I don't have an aunt anymore?" It would have been easy to say, "Of course you do," just to make her feel better. Instead, I chose honesty. "It means your aunt has a choice to make," I said. "She can learn to be kind or she can stay the way she is. Until she chooses kindness, we're going to stay back here where it's safe." Emily thought about that for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Can we make something just for us now?" she asked. "Something no one else gets to burn?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Yeah," I said. "We can." If you were that kid, watching a grown-up you admired toss your work into a fire, what would you want the adults who love you to do? Keep the peace, or finally take a stand? Revenge, for me, didn't look like screaming on the lawn or posting a viral takedown online. It started quietly, with absence. For the first time in years, I didn't show up. No, can you bring your famous potato salad? Texts answered. No, can you come early and help set up? Absolutely no. Sarah, can you talk to your sister and smooth this over? I had spent my whole life being the family glue. They only noticed when I stopped sticking. A week after the barbecue, my mother called. I let it ring out, then texted. Can't talk right now. If this is about last weekend, please text what you want to say instead of asking me to come over. She replied with a long message about family unity and not letting one misunderstanding tear us apart. She wrote about how hard my father was taking it, how Jessica felt ganged up on, and how Emily seemed fine at the party before you made a scene. I read every word and could almost hear her voice, softening the edges, redirecting the blame. That used to work on me. Not anymore. That night, instead of going to their house for Sunday dinner like we had for years, Emily and I stayed home. We ordered pizza, spread a plastic cloth over the dining table, and started a new project. A bigger, brighter scrapbook titled Things That Actually Matter. The first page was a picture of us on the couch. Faces still puffy from crying but smiling anyway, with the caption Emily wrote in careful block letters. We don't burn each other here. While we worked, my phone buzzed on the counter. Missed calls, voicemails I didn't listen to, messages in the family chat alternating between guilt trips and anger. Wow, really? From Jessica. Your father made your favorite roast tonight. From my mom. Don't punish us all. From my dad. Here's what none of them understood. I wasn't punishing them. I was stepping out of a role they'd cast me in since childhood. The peacekeeper, the excuse maker, the one who swallowed her hurt to keep everyone else comfortable. The night of the barbecue, I finally realized that keeping the peace in our family always meant one thing: sacrificing myself. And now, they expected me to sacrifice my daughter too. That was my revenge. Refusing to play that game anymore. Weeks went by. The first big test was my dad's birthday. Normally, I'd organize everything. The cake, the decorations, the group gift, the timeline that kept everyone from fighting. This time, I did nothing. I told Emily, we're going to send a card and a separate gift we choose together. We're not going to the party. She hesitated. Will they be mad? Probably, I said. But remember what we talked about? People can feel however they want. We still get to choose what's healthy for us. We mailed the card and sent a package with a thoughtful book he'd been talking about for months. I wrote a short note. Happy birthday. I hope it's a good one. Emily sends her love. We're taking some space, but that doesn't erase the good memories. Sarah. The family chat lit up that weekend. Photos of a half-organized party, store-bought cake leaning slightly to one side, decorations that looked slapped together at the last minute. For the first time, I wasn't in the background of those photos, holding a garbage bag or refilling drinks. Wish you and Emily were here, my father wrote. Things just aren't the same without you two, my mom added. I could have relented then. I could have swooped back in, thinking, they miss us. Maybe that's enough. But missing the labor you provided is not the same as understanding the harm you endured. Can act like that with Emily? Why should I can act like that with Emily? Why should I expect you to treat me any better? My mom sniffled. She's been in such a mood. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered Emily's face at the grill, the way my mother's laughter had sliced through her sobs like background noise. Compassion doesn't mean letting people escape the consequences of their actions. Mom, I said quietly, maybe you're finally seeing the side of her I've been dealing with my whole life. Silence. Then, that's not fair, Sarah. What wasn't fair, I replied, was watching my kids' hard work go up in flames while no one did anything but laugh. We went in circles a few more times, but I held my line. No visits, no parties, No pretend normal. If they wanted a relationship with us, they needed to acknowledge what happened and change how they behaved. Not with vague, "sorry you felt that way" lines, but with real accountability. The interesting thing about choosing boundaries as revenge is that it doesn't feel like revenge at all from the inside. It feels like breathing for the first time after years underwater. Have you ever realized that the only reason a family problem kept repeating was because you were the one quietly holding everything together? What do you think would actually happen if you just stopped? I didn't set out to destroy my sister's life. I just refused to keep shielding her from the natural consequences of her choices. The universe did the rest. A couple of months after the barbecue, my friend Claire sent me a screenshot. "Is this your sister?" she texted. It was Jessica's public post on social media, a photo of a charred, half-melted trinket on the grill. The caption read, "When your niece gives you something from the dollar store and calls it handmade, #sorry, not sorry." My stomach flipped. She hadn't just burned the gift and mocked my daughter in private. She'd bragged about it online. The post was a few days old. The comments were a mix of people laughing along and others clearly uncomfortable. One said, "Yikes, she's a kid though." And another, "This is harsh?" What Jessica didn't realize was who else was watching. Her boyfriend Mark had a 9-year-old son from a previous relationship. He'd met Emily a couple of times and genuinely seemed to like her. He'd told me once at a cookout, "She's such a sweet kid. You're doing a good job, Sarah." A week after I saw the post, my mother called, voice tight and breathless. "Your sister and Mark broke up," she said. "He moved his stuff out. He said she was cruel, and that he didn't want his son around someone who thinks bullying children is funny." There it was, the consequence she'd been outrunning for years finally catching up. Apparently, Mark had seen the post. He'd also heard about the barbecue from one of their mutual friends who'd been there that night. When he confronted Jessica, she brushed it off at first, saying, "It was a joke. Everyone's so sensitive." But this time, the everyone included his child. According to my mom, he'd said, "If you can burn a kid's gift and humiliate her for likes, that's not humor. That's mean. I won't let my son think that's normal." Jessica called me the next day. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "What did you say to him?" she demanded as soon as I picked up. "You ruined my relationship." I blinked. "I haven't spoken to Mark since the last time we were all at Mom and Dad's," I said calmly. "You ruined your relationship when you decided bullying a child was content?" She scoffed. "Don't act innocent. You've been playing the victim all over the place, haven't you? I bet you've told everyone some sob story about how I burned your precious kid's junk." "Actually," I replied, "I haven't said much at all. Your own actions were loud enough." She went quiet then, breathing hard. "You're loving this, aren't you?" "No," I said, and I meant it. "I wish you'd chosen differently. It would have been so easy to just not be cruel." Her anger cracked. Underneath it, I heard something else. Fear. "He said I need therapy," she muttered. "He said I don't know how to care about anyone but myself." "Do you?" I asked softly. She hung up on me. Later that week, my mom texted that Jessica had taken some sick days from work. A coworker had apparently seen the same post and reported it to HR because she'd been mentoring younger interns at her company. Nothing official happened, but she got pulled into a conversation about professionalism that bruised her pride. For someone whose entire identity was built on being admired, being called out was her worst nightmare. Did I orchestrate any of that? No. But by stepping back and refusing to spin her behavior into something harmless, I stopped absorbing the blow for her. When you finally step out of the way, people's actions hit them instead of you. Meanwhile, Emily and I kept building our own world. She started an after-school art club. Her teacher asked if she'd be willing to share a short presentation about why handmade things matter. Emily talked about how much time and love you put in and how sometimes people don't get it, but that doesn't mean it's worthless. I sat in the back of the classroom, blinking away tears as other kids raised their hands to share stories of their own work being mocked. After the presentation, her teacher pulled me aside. "She's got a strong voice," she said, "and a lot of empathy. She turned something painful into something powerful." That's when I realized something. My revenge wasn't just about watching my sister stumble. It was about making sure Emily never learned that her worth depended on the approval of people who enjoyed tearing her down. Have you ever watched someone who always got away with it finally hit a wall all by themselves? Did it feel like karma, or just the inevitable result of everyone else stopping their quiet enabling? It took almost 4 months for my family to ask for a real conversation instead of another round of guilt and denial. My mother texted, "We'd like to meet, your father, your sister, and me. No excuses. No, it was just a joke. We want to listen. Will you come? You can pick the place. Emily doesn't have to be there." I stared at that message for a long time. Old reflexes tugged at me, memories of showing up, smoothing over, letting apologies coded in excuses slide. But something in the wording was different this time. "We want to listen." It could have been a lie, but it was more than I'd gotten before. I chose a small cafe halfway between my house and theirs. Neutral ground. Public enough that no one would start screaming. Private enough that we could actually talk. I arrived early and sat where I could see the door. They came in together. My dad looked tired. My mom nervous. Jessica looked like she hadn't slept in days. No makeup, dark circles, posture tight. For the first time in a long time, she didn't look like she owned the room. "Thanks for coming," my mom said softly as they sat down. "I'm here because of Emily," I replied. "Let's be clear about that." We ordered coffee. No one touched their cups at first. Finally, my dad cleared his throat. "Your mother and I watched the video of Emily's school presentation," he said. "She sent us the link. We didn't know she was hurting that much." My spine stiffened. "She sent you that?" My mom nodded, eyes glistening. She wrote, "I hope you understand now." Jessica flinched. "I'm not going to re-argue what happened at the barbecue," I said. "You saw it with your own eyes. You just didn't care until it cost you something." Jessica opened her mouth to shoot back, then shut it again. She stared at the table. "You're right," she said finally, voice rough. "I didn't care enough. I thought it was funny. I thought she'd laugh, or be embarrassed for a second and then get over it. I didn't think about what it would feel like to have something you spent weeks on get burned in front of everyone." Something inside me snapped at that. "You didn't think?" I said, keeping my voice low but steady. "You did the exact same thing to me when we were teenagers. Remember my sketchbook? The one you threw into the fire pit at the lake house because your friends thought it was cringy that I drew instead of partying?" She blinked, startled. I was 16. I barely even... Dad called it good-natured teasing," I continued. "Mom told me I was being overly dramatic while I watched my work burn. That was the night I decided my art was something to hide. You didn't just wake up cruel at that barbecue. You've been practicing for years. The difference is that now there's a child in the middle of it." My mother wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "We didn't realize. We thought you were just sensitive." "I am sensitive," I said. "That's not an insult. It means I feel things deeply. It means I notice when something's wrong. The problem wasn't my sensitivity. It was your indifference." Silence settled over the table. Jessica's shoulders shook slightly. I realized she was crying. Quiet. No theatrics. just tears dripping onto the napkin she was shredding between her fingers. "I lost Mark," she said in a small voice. "I scared his kid. My boss doesn't trust me with interns anymore. People saw that post and they look at me like I'm a monster." I didn't rush to comfort her. For once, I let the weight of her actions sit where it belonged, on her. "Are you a monster?" I asked. "Or are you someone who got used to being rewarded for being the meanest person in the room?" She winced. "I've started seeing a therapist," she said. She asked me when I learned that being funny meant being cruel. I told her about our house, about how everyone laughed hardest when someone was the butt of the joke. My dad stared into his untouched coffee. "That's how I grew up," he said quietly. "If they were laughing at you, it meant they saw you." I thought we were just carrying on the tradition. And in the process, I replied, "You taught us that love looks like humiliation, that the only way to survive is to either laugh along or become the one doing the hurting." None of them argued. That alone was shocking. After a long pause, Jessica looked up at me, eyes red. "I'm not here to ask you to get over it. I know better than that now. But I'm asking, is there any way back from this? Not to what we were, that was messed up, but to something better?" I miss my niece. I miss my sister, even if I was horrible at showing it. I thought of Emily's question, "Do I still have an aunt?" And my own answer, "She has a choice." "There might be a way forward," I said slowly, "but it won't look like before. There won't be any more. It was just a joke passes. If you ever talk to Emily again, it will be on her terms. You don't get to demand closeness you didn't respect." "I'll do whatever she needs," Jessica whispered. "If she wants me to apologize in front of everyone, I'll do it. If she doesn't want to see me at all, I'll respect that. I need you to know I'm trying." Trying isn't the same as changing, I thought. But it's where changing starts. "I'll tell her you said that," I replied. "She might be willing to talk to you one day. Not yet. And even if she does, that doesn't erase what happened. There will be boundaries, fewer parties, smaller gatherings, more no from me. If that feels like punishment, that's on you, not me." My mom nodded. "We'll take what you're willing to give," she said, "and we'll try to be worthy of more." Walking out of that cafe, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady. For once, I wasn't leaving a family conversation wondering if I was crazy. I knew exactly what had happened, what I was willing to accept, and what I wasn't. If someone came to you with tears and apologies after finally facing the consequences of their behavior, would you let them all the way back into your life, or would you keep the door only halfway open, like I did? Almost a year after the barbecue, it was Emily's birthday again. This time, there was no big backyard party, no crowded patio, no grill blazing like a stage light. Just a handful of people she chose herself, 2 close friends, Claire and her daughter, and my neighbor who'd become like an aunt in all the ways that mattered. We decorated our small living room with strings of fairy lights and hand-cut paper stars. Emily designed her own cake, a messy, wonderful creation covered in edible glitter and tiny sugar paintbrushes. On the wall above the table, she taped up a sign she'd made in bright marker, "No jokes about people allowed." As we were setting out plates, my phone buzzed. A message from my mom. "Happy birthday to our brave, talented girl. We left a card and a small gift on your porch earlier. No pressure. Open whenever you like. Love, Grandma and Grandpa." There was also a separate message from Jessica I hadn't opened yet. I hesitated, then handed the phone to Emily. "You get to decide what we do with these," I said. She read my parents' message first. "We can open theirs later," she decided. "I'm not mad at them as much anymore." Then she opened Jessica's. It was long. Emily's eyes moved slowly across the screen. "Do you want me to read it?" I asked. She shook her head. I got it. When she finished, she handed me the phone. The message said, "Dear Emily, it's been almost a year since I did one of the worst things I've ever done. I burned something you made with love, and I burned your trust in me with it. I've been going to therapy, and I've learned that calling cruelty just a joke doesn't make it less cruel. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope one day I might earn a second chance. For now, I won't ask to come to your party or even see you. I just want you to know, your art matters. Your feelings matter. You matter. I'm sorry. Aunt Jessica." I looked at Emily. "How do you feel reading that?" She thought for a moment. "I believe she's sorry," she said slowly. "But I still remember the fire." "That makes sense," I replied. "You don't have to decide anything today." Emily nodded. Maybe she can send pictures of her art sometimes," she said. "Like, if she draws something or makes something herself. Then I'll know if she really understands." I smiled. "That sounds like a pretty fair deal." We wrote back together. "Thank you for your message. I'm not ready to see you yet, but I'm glad you're working on yourself. If you make something by hand, you can send me a picture of it. No fire allowed." Emily. There was no dramatic reunion, no tearful surprise knock at the door. The revenge arc didn't end with my sister groveling at our feet or us hugging it out under a rainbow. It ended with something quieter, and maybe more powerful. A kid setting her own terms, and adults finally respecting them. We went back to the party. Emily's friends arrived with their mismatched gifts. Drawings, homemade bracelets, a burned CD of favorite songs. She opened each one like it was treasure. When it was time for cake, she closed her eyes to make a wish. After she blew out the candles, I jokingly asked, "What did you wish for?" She grinned. "That people will always remember that handmade things are priceless," she said, "and that nobody ever throws my stuff into a grill again." Everyone laughed, but this time it was the good kind of laughter. Warm, gentle, rolling over us like a soft blanket instead of a knife. As I watched her run off with her friends, bracelet charms jingling, I realized that my revenge had never really been about making my sister suffer. It was about shifting our family story, about making sure the next generation understood that love never needs a punchline, and that boundaries are not betrayal, they're protection. Later that night, after the guests left and the house was quiet, I sat on the couch scrolling through old photos. There was the charred edge of that first gift, captured by someone's phone at the party. I hovered over the image, then moved it into a hidden folder. Not deleted, just archived. A reminder of the line we crossed and the one we drew afterward. At the very bottom of Emily's new scrapbook, there's a page she labeled, "In Case I Forget." On it, she wrote, "If someone laughs when I'm hurting, that's not love. If someone listens when I say stop, that is. I'm allowed to walk away from the first and choose the second." I don't know what will happen with my sister, my parents, or the rest of the family in the long run. Maybe one day we'll sit at the same table again. Maybe we won't. What I do know is this. My daughter will never again stand alone in front of a fire while everyone else pretends the heat is no big deal. So now I'm curious. If you were Emily and you got that long apology a year later, would you let that aunt back into your life, or would you keep her at arm's length and see if her actions ever actually match her words? Our team at Revenge Argon is dedicated to creating powerful, meaningful scripts that explore human emotions, choices, and consequences. We promise that every story is purely fictional and is designed only to deliver positive lessons, education, and valuable knowledge to our viewers. After hearing this story, which character did you connect with the most, and why? And what kind of theme would you like to see in the next video? More family boundaries, redemption arcs, or a completely different type of revenge story.